Welcome to the Stygian Stilettos Gamer channel. This is Stygian Sis. Please like, share, and subscribe, and find me at twitter.com/Stygian Sis. Of course, this is your girl, Stygian Stilettos Gamer, aka Stygian Sis. Welcome to the 25th anniversary of the Highwind scene. We all know that scene. It is the night that Cloud and Tifa, conveyed their feelings.
Yep.
Yeah, convey their feelings to one another without words. So, we'll put it that way for now, but we'll get a little more into that. But I want to introduce my friend Lex Tan. He's also an awesome CloTi and very knowledgeable, but I'll let him introduce himself. Why don't you go ahead and tell the people about yourself?
Sure. Thanks for having me on stage. This is, as I said earlier, it's going to be fun. I'm honored that I was able to be a part of the stream here today. I'm from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, which is in stage 2 of a semi-lockdown right now, and just dying to get a little bit out and going back to indoor dining right now. But what I do is in Toronto, I work as a broadcaster on several radio stations across southern Ontario, and also I'm a traffic reporter for radio and television, and I get to ride in a helicopter every now and then, so that's pretty cool. I came into the fandom of Final Fantasy VII when Remake came out, and one of the reasons why is because it's wow. First of all, the game is amazing. Second of all, Cloud and Tifa. It's like it was a dream come true. It was a gamer's dream come true to see the kind of love that we knew that they shared, but 1990s technology could not convey that in the way that it can now. And so uh, I fell in love with the game all over again, and learned a lot from people like Styg and Nightmare, and a lot of the other great people in the fandom
Tifa the
with
Monk, Silverwill.
Silverwill, Dipper,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, everybody. I just love being able to flex that kind of analysis muscle, especially with a game this great. So.
Awesome. Whew, couldn't agree more. I literally couldn't agree more. Awesome. Well, first thing I want to do is just go a little bit over. Of course, it's like I said, it's Nojima's birthday, Nojima-san, and I mean he's changed all our lives. Even if we never knew his name, he's changed all our lives with the stories that he's been writing over nearly 3 decades. So we are just going to kind of skim the Wikipedia page a little bit because I don't want to get anything wrong. Unless you'd like to, Lex, if you'd like to. Did you find any little tidbits in there, or we just kind of want to?
Just, stuff that, just the basics on his Wikipedia page right now. That January 20, 1964, born in Sapporo, Japan. Best known for several installments of Square Enix's Final Fantasy franchise, of course, including Final Fantasy VII and its spin-offs, Advent Children, Crisis Core, 8, eight's not a spin-off, but yeah. Let's see, the Glory of Heracles series. Let's see, what is it? The story to the Subspace Emissary mode in Smash Brothers Brawl.
He also wrote some lyrics for Liberty Fatale, which is one of my favorite songs of all time as far as Final Fantasy goes, or really anything. And also Hymn of the Faith. I love that one as well from Final Fantasy X.
Oh yeah, it's and speaking of songwriting, he did write the lyrics to Hollow, as you mentioned on your Twitter earlier as well.
Yes, which is a highly debated one. Indeed.
Yep, and let's see. No, and his writings, and it says here on his Wikipedia page that his writing style and reception, Nojima-san has been called one of the strongest voices in the video game industry for his writing. His stories have been noted for their complexity and fearlessness in delving into romantic plot lines, and that's something that we definitely see with CloTi, and you actually see that as well with just complexity of Final Fantasy VII, in the fandom, people do still misunderstand things and to varying different degrees, and that's also a credit to Nojima-san's amazing ability to write the way that he does. That he can convey so many different things
Mm-hmm.
and have it understood by many, but at the same time, it's also being debated by many as well, which is even better for Square Enix themselves and for Nojima himself because people still talk about Final Fantasy VII 25 years later. Out of
Whew.
all of the Final Fantasies that have come and gone, this is the one that is their bread and butter, the entire company.
Oh, yeah, 25 years. Just think about that. 25 years. Oh man, I remember when the game first came out. And let's talk about a little bit about that. When
Mhm.
your first exposure to Final Fantasy VII, I believe it was 2000 for me because Final Fantasy IX was already out, and I look. I'm not gonna lie to you. When I first saw it, I was like, "This is the worst thing I've ever seen." I hated the graphics. I mean, but by then Final Fantasy 9 was out, 10 was almost about to be out.
Mhm.
I was 12. I was a little bratty. Whatever. I was a little spoiled with the newer graphics, the PlayStation 2 about to come out and all that. But I did eventually play it after I beat 9, and I've got to say, I completely misjudged it. First off, the graphics were revolutionary at the time. So,
Mhm.
as I said, I was just being, 12 or whatever. But two, the story just gripped me so much. It was, you know, at the end of it all, Final Fantasy VII is a story about the human condition.
Mhm.
And it really, even then, it really spoke to me, but I didn't quite understand fully why until obviously now as a 33-year-old and seeing uh, all of the compilation and materials and things like that, and learning more about anti-capitalism, imperialism, conspiracy, all these things that Shinra is up to, human experimentation. I mean, all these serious topics that go on inside the game. Where the romantic aspect is, of course, though, is Cloud, and this is the reason it's debated. The reason people are still arguing about this in part is because people intrinsically understand how important a feeling like love is and how it drives a person. But we'll go more into that. But so you got that aspect out of Cloud Story, or at least I did. I'm sure many of us did. And then you get all of the sort of real world issues going on with the rest of the game. Why don't you tell us about your first exposure?
First exposure to Final Fantasy VII. Actually, my sisters and my brother played it first, and I saw it myself, and it was just like, I was into other things. I was into wrestling at the time, and I still am up to this day. I even have a radio show about wrestling at this time. So you see how far that went. But um, after they started playing the game, I was like, okay, you know what? This graphics are a little bit interesting, but the music sounds really awesome for the PlayStation 1. I can't believe that they fit this kind of music into a video game. So I decided, as a musician myself, I was like, okay, that hooked me right there, and I started playing the game, and I remember just at first I was like, oh, why can't I skip this first part over here? It's just a star field. Can I get to the game action? And just like, okay, you know what? After it all came down and just like all the parts just started to fit together, there's a story here, a really, really deep story, uh, building up, and I have to be there to see everything that's going on and try to figure out this and try to 100% this thing. Uh, of course, they didn't 100% it the first time, and I was I still and I still up to this day, I think at first because I was so young, that I sort of like the whole, I guess, Aerith being, uh, for lack of a better word at the moment, flagrant. Um,
Mm-hmm.
with Cloud, and as a young kid as well, it was just like, ooh, girls like Cloud. I'm supposed to be playing Cloud. I like this girl because she give me the attention, and then, but at the same time, I always knew and understood there was something deeper about Cloud and Tifa.
Yes.
That was more than was meeting my eye at that moment, and going through it for the first time, um, I was and finishing it. I actually did finish it before my brother and my sisters did, so they watched me finish the game even though they started it first, and up to this day we just like we still talk about the ending. We still debate about like what that all meant and how that is, and apparently I'm still doing it now with you and the rest of the fandom too. So.
Yeah, you and me and half of Twitter. Ooh, yeah, and that's the thing. When you've made an excellent piece of media, an excellent story. When it's not that the story was, though there may be some problematic moments in it, and that's why remake I think was ultimately needed. We're gonna get the complete package, but there are so many lessons to be learned from a game like Final Fantasy VII, and there's so many, it's like so many hidden nuggets throughout it, and they leave so many breadcrumbs to different conclusions that you need to take out of the game. It really does take playing the game multiple times to really get it all,
Hmm.
and there are a lot of misconceptions as far as Final Fantasy VII, but if you really just sit and pay attention and play over, and a lot of the stuff that there's still arguments about, including around Genova or anything like that, a lot of it does into, if you go back and look far enough, or that's part of why the Ultimanias are so important, because they realize that not everything was clear in the game, or they want you have to remember they're also trying to sell a game. They're not, so there are going to be some things that they may leave out in the air for a while, and then they put a little clarification in the ultimate, like, yeah, but this was the correct conclusion, you know.
Hmm.
But yeah, I could go on forever about Final Fantasy. So many avenues you could go about talking about this, but you know what?
Hmm.
I would rather just delve right into Cloudy. That's what we're all here for. A night to remember. And by the way, hashtag Under the Highwind is going on right now. It's being put on by @CloTi Events on Twitter. There's tons of fan art, lots of information, like informational threads. I made one earlier about which we'll go over, about all the times that this scene has been referenced and things like that. I mean, it's just an awesome event. So please go check it out. I have been in love with the fan art. I've been trying to concentrate on other stuff all day, but I keep scrolling through and liking and retweeting, fangirling. But what I'd like to do is discuss the build up. And I think this is what's different, but not so different about Cloudy.
Hmm.
It is unique. The It's not like there's a lot of, let me get this together. There are a lot of tropey things about Cloudy, but then there's a lot of nuance to Cloudy as well. I think you have the tropes of like the girl next door, and like the guy going off to war to impress the girl. Those are tropes that you see. But the amount of strife, which thus the last name, that they go through trying to be with one another until it finally culminates into the Highwind scene, when they finally have realized their feelings for one another and all that. What I'd like to go through is just I'll let you start your thoughts on. Let's start in the early childhood, and no, not safe for work on Twitch. Yeah, not yet. But I'll let you start. Let's start on their, let's say, right up until the promise scene. Just your thoughts on their relationship at that point. Have you read any of Traces of Two Paths and all of that?
Yeah, I've read quite a bit of Tifa's section. Haven't gone yet into detail into Aerith's section,
Okay.
but knowing from the things that I do know, thank you to Pico as well for translating it so well and making it make sense in the to us who don't read Japanese, and just what I got from there is that Cloud and Tifa, or at least on Cloud's end, Cloud has always had some sort of almost instinctual almost instinctual need, desire to love and to care for Tifa, even as a little kid. That you saw that with him retrieving her cat. You saw that with him going up to the mountain and taking the blame so that she wouldn't suffer dishonor for going out for going out onto that bridge and causing that situation to happen. Uh, and it's and you also saw the attraction that Tifa also had, even as a little kid, like that puppy love kind of like kind of attraction to Cloud. That she blushed when her mom said that Cloud was cuter than Sephiroth. Which means that they all knew each other somehow back in Nibelheim in those days. And how did Tifa react? Tifa blushed, and she actually loved the fact that her mom thought the same thing, and she didn't understand that this was actually like a crush starting to build. But she also that's something that another thing about them is that they're also so oblivious to the way that they are, that of how much love and care that they actually have with each other, that that they end up that everybody sees it except them. And then when it all and when it all culminates in the promise, and I'm just going and leafing through everything, and there's so much more. Of course,
I'm enjoying it.
There's so much more of there's so much more to the story that I haven't mentioned, and because I want the people, I want the listener, the viewer, to go and read the Japanese, to read Pico's translations up on our website and everything, because that's great. That the fact that Cloud didn't tell anybody else except his mom and Tifa that he was going to soldier.
Actually, to correct you real quick, he didn't tell his mother. That's why she knew that he was in love with her.
Ah, there it is.
Yeah,
there it is.
And I'll fill that in. But yeah, see, he only told Tifa.
Yep. And so so there it is. It's just that there is that there is that care and that love and that concern that they all have, that the two of them have for each other, up to the point where like when Tifa heard that Soldier and Shinra were coming to town when she was 15, she got so disappointed when she couldn't see Cloud, when she didn't see Cloud, that she bawled her eyes out. She ran away, sat in a corner, and just bawled her eyes out, because where the hell was Cloud? Where the hell is this guy? I want him back, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's I think that's, and in my own headcanon personally, the whole Tifa wants him back and everything. I think that is going to be a significant line when they portray, if they portray it this way, at least the way I want it to. I can kind of envision it to be portrayed when Cloud goes after Tifa at the bridge before they fall off before they fall off the mountain. Cloud is trying to yell for Tifa, come back, basically. And so there's that parallel that that Tifa wants him to come back, but can't find him, basically.
Just talking about this just kills me. It's just like, you're so right. There's so much to their, just before even the promise is made, you And that's what's so beautiful about Nojima dropping Traces of Two Paths in the middle of all this remake stuff. You remember it was announced like it was announced maybe in April or May, and it came out in July, and you know, I mean, I think it was the perfect time because all of that hype around Intergrade, because it was coming out in June, and then the next month you were going to get more. You know, like we were all salivating for like, oh my god, we got this new ending and da da da. But and by the way, I should have said this is all going to be spoilers. So don't look. Don't even bother thinking whether we're going to spoil anything or not. I mean, that's the point of all this. And you only know what the Highwind scene is if you know OG. So, but.
And speaking of which, Tana Greek knows says over here, yep, we are trying to perfect out our reading of the Highwind scene. So that's something to look out for.
Oh, hey! Okay, I just made the connection. Cool, how you doing? And by the way, I want to thank Rolling on the Floor. He gave 5 subs. Love him. He's always on my streams. He was making some very inappropriate jokes earlier that I was trying not to laugh at. Because that's our dynamic. We both have a dirty sense of humor, which is perfect for a night like this. So, I mean, and by the way, we will have to talk about Italian Senate Tifa at some point.
There it is.
Speaking of, I mean, I think it's perfectly appropriate for the Highwind day.
and it's exactly. It's just like is there some sort of like, you know, synergy going on with the universe in this sort of sense? That's just like that happened in the Italian Senate, and then boom, this is the week.
Yeah, it's like Nojima.
I'm sorry, boom. Sorry.
Yeah, like Nojima has that bad weekend, and then Sriliata. Her name is Sreliata. Yes. She's a incredible render artist on Twitter, but I didn't even realize some of the renders she had made until much later, like very recently. I was like, that was her. Okay, but yeah, she decided. And maybe she wasn't the only one, but she was the first person I noticed that said, hey, why don't we do something for Nojima? And I and somebody else was like, you realize this is his birthday this week, right? She's like, wait, what? It's his birthday? So we decided to do the hashtag We Love Nojima. And then, yeah, like you said, out of nowhere, as Highwind is approaching, this that's a Senate Tifa thing happened. I was like, what is going on with the world? We were laughing about that the whole day. I mean, the whole day. But yeah, sorry, getting sidetracked. So, my thoughts on like right up until the promise. I'm glad that Traces of Two Paths came out because there was always these, I'll kindly call them misconceptions about what Tifa, like how Tifa treated Cloud and how she may have felt about him one way or the other. And it is true that up until really closer to the promise, I don't think she was aware of her feelings, and which sort of comes off in Traces of Two Paths, because just like you said, I don't think she realizes when her mom is talking Cloud up to her that she's starting to develop feelings. Because she's a kid. You know, these as she gets older though, she has more thoughts about, you know, why aren't Cloud and I close, or things like that. And then once he asked her out on that date to the water tower, it was so funny. It was one of the funniest parts of the book because Cloud runs up on her and is like almost touching her, and he's like, midnight. She's like, what? Midnight. Meet me, water tower, or whatever. And then he goes running off, and she goes running off in the other direction. And then it's just so cute. She was actually on her way to get some materials to bake a cake or something like that, and just forgot what she was doing because she was so flustered that Cloud had just asked her out. And she thought it was a date. Now, this is important to realize. Now, it was sort of a date. I mean, I'm not gonna say it was a full-blown date, because while he did ask her, he knew it was the date spot of the town. And this is in one of the ultimatums, but he knew it was the date spot of the town, and he asked her there at midnight under the stars. There's nothing platonic about that. Okay? So he knew what he was doing, but at the same time, it was so that he could declare, to him, it was a declaration of, like a sort of a declaration of feelings almost, oh, I'm going to going to join soldier and I'm going to be a hero. You don't tell some girl that you don't have any feelings for, he could have just said, oh, hey, Tifa, I'm leaving town. I'll see you later.
Exactly.
Instead, he does this whole, performance about it, like, oh, let me get her to climb up on a water tower in wedges. And, but, it's then that she really starts to ponder as she's deciding to go at midnight to meet him. Do I want a relation? I'm like, would I want something with him? Blah, blah, blah. Then when he tells her his dream, she's sad, but she also falls in love with him at that moment when she realizes he's just a regular boy. And again, another misconception that she only cared about him because he was going to be a soldier. Well, Nojima, it was like Nojima was just looking at bad takes on Twitter and just knocking them out one by one. So Tifa didn't bully him. It turns out
Nope, not at all.
Tifa fell off a mountain. So, hey, it kind of, sometimes when you fall off a mountain, you may have a coma. You may be in a coma and then wake up from it and not remember anything. And you're 8 years old and just lost your mother. I mean, to blame Tifa for not sticking up for him at 8, a little ridiculous. But yes, but they clarified that she didn't remember anything, and Cloud took responsibility, and it's implied she knows that he's lying, but she just doesn't know what his motivation is, because that's the thing that's like beautiful but frustrating about early CloTi is they don't realize each other. Not even early CloTi, up until basically the Highwind scene, they don't realize they have feelings for each other. So, but yeah, I love that Trace the Two Paths showed the other side of that, because the live stream scene is going to show us Cloud's side, and I think it's going to be a lot more explicit this time from his angle. It was just because, like we said, it's not 1997. You're going to have the voice acting. You're going to be able to see the facial expressions. I'm sure the language is going to be, I think it's going to be a lot spicier, honestly, as far as his declaration. I don't think he's going to come out with a straight "I love you," but I mean, it's going to be clear what his motivation is. But anyway.
If we don't make it clear after all this time, then they've severely underestimated the technology. Because that's the thing, is that's the one thing that I loved. That's the one thing that attracted me so hard about the remake, is that it was A-list Hollywood. They gave it A-list Hollywood everything, from the graphics, the character models, the designs, the angles,
the mocaps.
And the music. It's like it was like, because I've always said that that Nobuo Uematsu is our John Williams, basically, and we are going to, and our future generations are going to be studying Nobuo Uematsu's music alongside John Williams's music, because those
absolutely.
Because
absolutely.
video game, we're literally experiencing the dawn of a brand new genre of entertainment. Books were around for thousands of years, but like, and the written word and everything. But this is like
video games are art. They are art, and for a long time they were not considered art, but they absolutely are. The way, and it's the most. I don't want to say anything that's gonna give me. I think it's the most immersive type of art that I've personally come across. I was a cellist. I was a pianist. I mean, this is middle school, high school stuff, but I did it for 7-8 years. I mean, it's a long time to commit yourself to one thing. Trust me, in grade school. So I went to an art, like I come from that background. I'm not super into the arts these days, but what I'm getting at is I have been exposed to many types of art. Video games, though, you're not only hearing it, seeing it, feeling it. I mean, you're literally playing through it. When you're playing Final Fantasy VII, you are Cloud Strife. You know what I mean? You're watching him, but you are him. It's like you're going through his life journey with him. Let me put it that way. You're like you are that limited third party when you talk about storytelling. We as the player are limited third party. So there is some dramatic irony. There are things that we know that some characters don't know what's going on, because we see different character perspectives, but we also don't see their actual thoughts for the most part. So that's why it's limited. Whereas an omniscient third party, and I know you know all this, so I'm just explaining for the audience. But but yeah, so it is just such an immersive experience. But yeah, now I'm going on a whole other tangent. So back to let's talk about the promise. Yeah, so we've discussed they were closer as little kids. Just to sum this up, they were closer as little kids, but as it got closer to when Thea, which is Tifa's mom, getting sick, there was a rift between them. And then especially once the mountain incident happened where Tifa was trying to go to the other side of the mountain, that's where she heard that the dead would go. And so, she's a child. She's trying to figure out, she's trying to see if she can go see her mom. She falls off the mountain. Cloud, in that moment, to be 9 years old and have the fortitude to be like, I would rather this village hate me than see the girl I like take blame for this. He has always been so selfless, first of all, but certainly selfless when it comes to Tifa. She has always come first for him, outside of his own mother. You know what I mean? And what's great, and what you mentioned earlier, so we get to the promise, and then she's 15. Her and Claudia have this exchange. They've stayed close since Cloud has been gone, because once her mom died, the village women taught Tifa how to cook, clean, do all those types of things. And she lives next door. Like, Tifa is literally the girl next door. That is just amazing to me. But Claudia sees she has that cute little cowgirl outfit. Like, oh, cute outfit, blah, blah. And then she starts asking Claudia, okay, so is Cloud up in the mountains yet? Because soldiers are coming. Now, this is right before the Nojima incident. She's like, Cloud? Like, what are you talking about? He told her he was going to Midgard, probably just to go get a job or be with Shinra, but he never told her what he was doing. And so Tifa's like, yeah, he made soldier, right, and blah blah. And you can read the wheels turning in Claudia's mind through Tifa's eyes. Tifa realizes he never told her either, and Claudia keeps fishing for information. Like, oh, so he told you that. What else did he tell you? And that is when Claudia realizes. I mean, that's what's implied. Like, she's realizing that Cloud has feelings for Tifa, because he told no one else in the world, not even his own mother, his dream to be a soldier. It was because he wanted to impress Tifa. He wanted to be her hero. He regretted the mountain incident all those years, and Cloud tells us in the live stream, like, he never thought he was good enough. And so he thought if he could be stronger, he'd be good enough to be noticed by Tifa. That's exactly what he says. If I got strong enough, maybe somebody would notice. And she said, who? And he's like, you.
You, that's who.
And so it's important to realize that it wasn't, like, Tifa wasn't ignoring him or anything. They're just oblivious. I mean, to some degree, there's just an obliviousness to Cloudy.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah.
That's what's so frustrating, but at the same time, so damn cute about them, too. It's just, come on, guys, you love each other. Just do it.
That's why the Highwind scene is so satisfying now. It's when we're going through all this, and then they finally have the moment. It's like, oh, thank God, I was dying. But,
and it's like it's that slow build and that slow burn of their relationship, but it also defines and hones their characters as well. Seeing Cloud in Remake, and the way that the way that, like, after 7 years, of course, or 5 years in his mind, 7 years in Tifa's mind, when they meet each other again and they fight together in Sector 7, Chapter 3 rather, they realize, like, my God, there is this like we actually do have chemistry. Like, why, like, I didn't see this when we were kids, but, like, this is amazing. Like, I feel like I don't have to do this alone. And it's like, and that's something that I learned as well, in both the easy and the hard ways, that, like, that's exactly what you want in a relationship.
Absolutely.
You want to have somebody that you feel that they can bear the burden with you. And and also bear the burden when you're not or when you're not at 100%, basically.
Oh, and yeah, whew, and we're gonna get to the Medill stuff later, but what you said hit home for me right there. Yes, when they are not at their best, that's when you know, like that's real love right there. Whew, but yeah,
And yeah, and that's the thing about the promise too, is that this was Cloud not at his best either.
yes,
He he has yet to reach any sort of potential in his mind or whatever like that, or anything, or in anybody's mind. But it's that point that that Tifa just that as you said, Tifa buys in, and and she's like, yeah, I like this guy. I want I want to be with this guy. This guy is just like,
just a normal boy.
and
He's
and that's and it's funny because it's like every other boy around her. I think Lester, Taylor, and Emilio, I think the names are. They say the same thing. They or I mean, like they offend her on one in some ways, but they also basically take the whole thing that like they're gonna go out into the world and and they're just like every other guy, but she doesn't buy into them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it turns out
Like,
she isn't dating the entire village, despite what.
yeah.
You know. Oh, hey, Bishop. I appreciate it. Woo woo! Thank you. He's putting us on host, so we'll be hosting on Bishop Boy Gaming. I checked him out last night. Please check him out. He's awesome. Plays some good games, some new stuff I've never seen. So, want to say that. But yes, you're absolutely right. And also I just want to touch on the fact, just real quick, like the fact that these two extraordinary characters in general, but they're just a couple of village kids, and we have to remember that these aren't people who came from grand, beginnings or anything like that. They were just a couple of village kids that lived next door to each other and took a liking to one another, and feelings of, the romance, puppy love. They just grew into something absolutely amazing.
To the point where they saved the entire world twice.
Let's just keep it real. Cloud essentially saved the world trying to get laid. Listen, he runs into his childhood crush again. He's like, okay, this is my chance. Okay. Oh, you want me to join a terrorist group? Fine, whatever.
Damn it! Cloud puts so many of us to shame.
Oh, he really does. And that's what I'm keeping a positive tone. Nobody joins the army willing to die to impress a friend. Okay.
Yep.
He already because he's 14, I wouldn't call it love like adult love. We understand the different stages of love, but he's as in love with Tifa as you could possibly be at 14. To be willing to lose your life just to impress her, and not even tell her you're doing it to impress her. Just tell her, like you're like, I'm gonna be a soldier, and when I come back, I'll keep that promise to you, or whatever. It is just crazy. And what I love about Claudia, let's start sort of getting into the adult. Well, let's definitely talk about Nibelheim. But they have that perfect. They're just like the perfect package, because there's that love that started as like an innocent child. It's a pure love that they have for each other. It really is. Because even when Tifa, when she realizes she's in love with Cloud, she's only 13. It's not like this, there's really nothing sexual about it at that time. It's just she says she feels the kind of love for him that she wants to be with him, like wants to spend more time with him, wants to be with him. And then Cloud, of course, you jump off a mountain trying to save a girl. Follow her up the whole mountain. She doesn't even know you're there. And there's a beautiful parallel between that and chapter 17, by the way, which I'll tell you when we get there. But yeah, it's like this perfect love. But then when they meet each other as adults, then they have that chemistry. It is just, and it is palpable.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that, but let's touch on Nibelheim before we do that. So
Sure.
Did you want to say anything before I went into Nibelheim?
Let's dive into Nibelheim.
Okay, awesome. Nibelheim, You know, the worst day of both of their lives, and I mean that. Trust me, there's a there's a healthy competition for worst days, but I think that was it.
Mhm. Yeah.
The fact that Cloud was just a 16-year-old boy, again, just a 6-year-old country boy, he had a couple years of training, but certainly nothing to the level of Sephiroth. I mean, the legendary hero. Now, it's unclear to me if they mean that Sephiroth was 27 when he died, so he was 27 then, or he's 27 now. It's hard to tell. I would imagine since he's dead, his age would be when he died, if that makes sense.
I would. Yeah.
So, let's say, 27 versus a 16-year-old. He has no experimentation, no nothing. I mean, just a grunt. And he was so upset about what happened to his. Of course, he basically heard his mom's last words. That's what remake shows us.
Mm-hmm.
And his village burned down, and then it was almost like his last straw was seeing Tifa laying there.
Mm-hmm.
And he decides to kill his hero in that moment. And we know that Tifa was his motivation, not because we're speculating, because we're Cloudies. It comes out of his own mouth. Again, most of this you can surmise from the game. When he stabs Sephiroth, he says, "Mom, Tifa, village."
Yep.
He puts Tifa right after his own mother, before the village that he grew up in, before anything else. That is how important Tifa is. And with his mom gone, Tifa becomes the center of his world. And it is, well, I mean, she basically already was, but she certainly was after that. So,
yeah.
What do you think about that? I just find that amazing that he, just a regular, but he was so upset that he was willing to kill his hero. And he was, even as he was doing, he was like, "I looked up to you, blah, blah, blah." He was just so upset. But what do you think about Nibelheim in general? You can talk about any part of it if you like.
Well, let's start off with the whole hero thing. My hero, for many, many years, is the jabroni beating, pie eating, trailblazing, eyebrow raising, people's champion, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson.
Ooh, yes.
And I look, and if I were to self-insert for just a little bit here, I look at The Rock the way that Cloud looked up to Sephiroth before he got into Shinra. And if The Rock had ever done something so heinously horrible that would break that image that I have of him as my hero, the guy that I wanted to emulate in order to become the person that I want to be. If Rock ever did something, in which I don't believe he ever will, because Rock is just too good of a guy, and you
don't think he'd burn down your village?
If he did something to burn down the village, he'd use his money to build a dam up again. So. The entire village, and he'd give other people cars as well too. It's like, "Hey man, I'm so sorry. Here's a house. Bad. Here's London. Here's some cars and some money. Here you go." So that's and to have and that's the thing. There's that old trope or that old adage that they say, "Don't meet your heroes."
Yes.
Don't meet your heroes because they're always going to disappoint you. And what Cloud must have experienced, like that was don't meet your heroes at times 100,
times 1,000,000.
Yeah, and it's and so it's like, but the thing is, the one thing that even with Cloud feeling like he just got betrayed by his hero, he is traumatized by seeing his mother die. He's traumatized by seeing the woman that he loves ever since they were kids nearly close to death. Even with all of that going on, he out of everybody, and Hojo even himself is continually surprised by this. He's the only one that could stand up to Sephiroth. He's the only one that could stand up to him and beat him, no matter if it's Angeal, Genesis, Zack, who are much more trained
Trained.
warriors, stronger physically than he is, stronger mentally because hell, because in the Cloud couldn't take the treatments that Zack did. That which is the reason why Sephiroth can control him. But still, being as horrible as weak as anybody could possibly be comparatively, he is the one that overcame Sephiroth.
Yeah.
He's the one that stopped single-handedly whatever other carnage was going to be happening to the world, temporarily speaking, and then eventually again twice. So three times, three times he beat Sephiroth 3 times, and just a small town boy.
Yeah, it's amazing. And by the way, fun fact: the real Trinity here is Cloud, Tifa, Sephiroth. They all were born in Nibelheim.
That's right.
That's in one of the Ultimanias. They show a map showing the like sort of the pivotal points. So like for Cloud, it's Nibelheim, Midgar, and Midil. Same with Tifa. Same 3 places. And then Sephiroth, Northern Crater, Midgar, and Nibelheim. And it says in the Nibelheim caption that he was born there. So. I mean, it's just incredible, and it didn't occur to me till now. I mean, I think you know a lot of information, especially a game like this. There's just so much information to know, and But anyway, yeah, like I somebody pointed that out to me, Silverwill, and I was like, wow, you are like, what? That is crazy. But yeah, so so that was almost kind of their reunion, almost. Yeah. But anyway, I think why he was so mentally weak those years though, I think it was more he had almost given up hope. And I think Zack had a lot to do with him surviving. I think because you have to think what's emblazoned in Cloud's mind in that moment. Yes, 5 years have gone by, but 5 years have not gone by for Cloud Strife. And that is another thing when people are wondering how he could hold on to those feelings all those years over. And I mean, Tifa held on to hers as well, so it's not like it's impossible, but it is amplified in Cloud's mind and explains a lot of what happens later on. When you suffer such an incredible trauma, because he almost died himself in that moment. Then you go through over 4 years of experimentation. The last things he remembers is his mother being dead, his village being gone, and he doesn't know if Tifa lived. So he's thinking, I've lost everything. And Zack is the only thing he has left, and I think is kind of holding on to, like, keeping him going. And the reason I say that is because there are 2 times that Cloud has that Mako poison and he's in that mindset, and there's 2 times that he's taken out of it. The first time, well, the most famous time being Midil, when they have the whole live stream scene. But it actually happened already one time before, and that's when he laid eyes on Tifa at that train station. His mind awoke at that point, and then Jenova realized she could now use him and wrote the soldier persona in him, partly from reading Tifa's memories, which I found an Ultimate quote that does confirm that she can read memories of people, but also because she knew that it was also Cloud's desire to be her hero. She saw this as an opportunity. That's why she writes the soldier persona. Let's recap real quick. Cloud, and going back to what I was saying in our opening about why the romance matters to Final Fantasy VII, why canon matters to Final Fantasy VII. It is crucial to understanding the motivation of Cloud Strife. It's not that the story is a romance story. It is that the major decisions Cloud has ever made all stem to one thing: Tifa Lockhart. The following her up the mountain, extremely dangerous. You're 9 years old. Y'all are by yourself. Deciding to take the blame, deciding to become a soldier, deciding to kill your hero. Now he may have killed Sephiroth anyway, but the fact that he names Tifa as the second reason, huge factor. Now, I'm not blaming Tifa for the soldier persona. We also have to realize Cloud never felt good enough. It is nothing that Tifa has ever said or made him feel like. He has like some self-esteem issues, really, you know. So it's between that and then having these overwhelming feelings for Tifa, feeling like he failed her. He's making a lot of stuff in his mind that isn't really what Tifa feels like, because Traces of Two Paths shows why she loves him. She's already said why she loves him, because he's a normal boy. He thinks he needs to be all these things for her. So the whole soldier persona, joining Avalanche, the whole reason he saved the world, as I said. I mean, I made a joke about it. He was trying to get late, but I mean, really, it all is about Tifa.
It is.
To not understand that. Well, not to understand, to not acknowledge that. Even if you don't take anything, I don't know how you couldn't take anything romantic out of it. But to not acknowledge it is to not fully acknowledge the story of Final Fantasy VII. It just isn't.
Yeah.
Tifa is so intertwined with everything about Cloud. You can't divorce the two.
No, you can't. It is an essential, as you said, it's such an essential part of everything that goes on. It's like, it's Dutch Dredd even said it, and in that famous podcast about story versus narrative, is that, yeah, darn, I'm missing the quote right now.
I think he said the LTD is in the plot, not in the or something like that. Like, the LTD is it's part of the plot, or part of the narrative, but not part of the plot. Oh man, we're about to butcher all of this. I'm sorry, Dutch Dredd, but he made a good point.
Actually, it's the inner conflict versus the external conflict.
Yeah. Okay, that's another good quote from him.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why, as Tanagrik knows says in the chat here, Final Fantasy VII is the best romance, and Squall and Renoa could never. But it's because the inner conflict is so important to the resolution of the external conflict.
Yes, that's what I meant by the Mako poisoning. If all it takes is laying eyes on Tifa for him to wake up, it's not the Mako poisoning. You see what I'm saying? There was never really anything wrong with. I mean, there's a lot of things wrong, but you know what I mean. Like, it really wasn't. It was more emotional than physical. What was going on with Cloud? Go ahead.
Yeah, and that's which is great, because it's also in its way, in a time 25 years ago where mental health issues and things like that were just being you were just starting to open the door ever so slightly to the idea of mental health and everything. I remember being in elementary school and guidance counseling, where you could actually see a counselor and talk and do some talk therapy. As an elementary school kid, that was, I remember my teachers saying, this is something brand new. We've never tried this before. We've never tried this before at the school, and this is a very, very rare thing. But there is somebody here. If something's distressing you, you need to talk about it. They'll be here for you. And I was like, and I'm hearing this as a little kid, as a kid of 12 or whatever like that, and hearing that it's all brand new, that is, and knowing that Final Fantasy VII was able to start tackling that around that time as well, that was way ahead of its time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's one of the things that also drew me to it. And I'm glad you brought it up, because I forgot the mental health aspect of it. I mean, just because there's so much to think about when you think about Final Fantasy VII, and especially Cloud. He was always my favorite character, and it's because of that. And again, also I didn't fully realize that time, but over time I realized, like, just like how Barrett was a groundbreaking character, and I'm starting to learn more and more that Tifa was a breaking character, being a business owner, being a world-class martial artist, but also being this, she isn't this stereotypical female warrior type. She's also, they even explicitly point this out again in Ultimania. Sorry, I keep quoting Ultimanias. I know this is taboo for some people, but uh, but she wasn't
It
this.
shouldn't be. It shouldn't be.
It should be. I mean, they give you the information for a reason to better understand or to clarify things that you may not have picked up in the game. Yeah, but she also is this very feminine. You know, if you just look at Tifa, which a lot of people, staying positive. A lot of people. They even say, like, a lot of people look at her and think she's supposed to be one thing or another, but her outer presence doesn't reflect who she is stereotypically. You know what I mean? Like, people make a lot of misconceptions or assumptions about Tifa just based on how she looks, but in actuality, she is one of the strongest female characters ever. So yeah, back to your point, Cloud. They did a lot of groundbreaking in this game and delving into mental health. I mean, it was a big part of the game, obviously. The live stream theme is the climax of the game, as they've said, and it's all about Cloud accepting his true self, repairing his mind, and he says a really nice quote in the Ultimania, something about, "I'll accept the ugliness of reality over the beauty of illusion." He's been living in an illusion the entire game, out of his own mouth, you know. So, yeah.
I mean, and that's and because he's able to accept that ugliness of reality, he's also able to when he's able to accept the ugliness of reality, that's when he also can accept the beauty of his reality, which is Tifa.
Yes.
And so yeah, it's just it's one thing I was saying earlier on Monk's Discord is that that the realness and the reality of Cloud and Tifa, the way they are, and what they've experienced, that it, and so that like they go through the ringer, everything happens to them, and somehow they still find a way to love each other,
Absolutely.
and they still. I mean, I was actually listening to Dipper and Hayashi talk about stuff, and when Hayashi said, and I did not pick up on this because I'm not Japanese, but in the Japanese text, Hayashi says that when Cloud is is convinced that he is just a empty body bag, basically, give me a number, Hojo, because I don't know because I'm a nobody, basically. He goes and turns to Tifa and you've heard in remake that Tifa that Cloud said, like, calls her Tifa, no honorifics, just Tifa. No Tifa-chan, no Tifa-san, whatever like that. No Tifa senpai or anything like that. Just Tifa, and that's and Hayashi says that in Japanese culture that denotes that level of closeness. It's almost different with the Western culture because it's like, you know, it's like you attach, let's say Archie and Veronica, it's like Archiekins and whatever like that. You attach something to his name, right? In order to like to show that closeness, right? Yeah. But it's different. But in this case, it's different. That just saying someone's name straight up is level of closeness that nobody else has, basically. And then when he turns to Tifa and in English says, "Look, Tifa, you've been so good to me. Yeah, you've been so good to me. You've shown me you shown me what it's what it meant to be real for a little bit, basically." In Japanese, he actually calls her Tifa-san.
Oh my God, man, that's crazy.
And that's why she falls down to her knees and she's weeping, because it's like she knows she knows she's been thinking all this time that this is her Cloud, the Cloud that she fell in love with when she was 13, the Cloud that saved her cat, the Cloud that only he knew that he was going to join Soldier.
Absolutely.
Cutting off that closeness with her because he didn't know who he was.
And that is another thing. Tifa is the only person alive who knows Cloud. The Cloud. Just like, and it's vice versa. And this is why the live stream scene can only be done with Tifa. Nobody else grew up with him. Everyone else from that village is gone. Even though Sephiroth, I don't even know what Sephiroth is technically, but dead or alive, I don't know what you call him at this point. But he didn't even grow up there. Like, nobody in the world knows Cloud except Tifa. That's why she's the only one that can bring him back. And, wow, I mean, it is just, and that is also a beautiful, unbreakable bond. They keep each other tethered to this life in many ways. They remind the other that they are them, that they are real. And that's why it's not there. What breaks Cloud, you have to think about what's leading up to this. Sephiroth slowly trying to break his mind, different tragedies going on along the way, Aerith's death and things like that. But even seeing that photo, by the way, showing that it was really Zack there in that photo and not Cloud. What actually breaks him is finding out that, or believing that Tifa has lost faith in him, that she has stopped believing that he's the real him. That is what makes him snap. So she keeps him tethered to his existence. Like, his existence in part is largely about Tifa believing in him, and that's why it's so devastating to him what happened. So yeah, it is just it is an unbreakable bond. You have to think, Cloud was gone 7 years. Not a lot of people are going to wait around 7 years for a guy, especially one that they never even had a relationship with. You could at least understand Aerith. She dated Cloud. I'm sorry, not Cloud. Flirting and slip right there.
Ooh.
Yeah, right in the middle of a cloudy podcast. There you go. All right, let's end it. But
we're done.
I know. I've been excommunicated from the Cloudies. I'll be doing an apology tour.
Category says, "How dare you?"
I know, hilarious. I'm sure people will be clipping that all. I'm putting that on YouTube. I'm not even going front. That's hilarious. But Aerith dated Zack for, I don't know, over a year, something like that. And she knew that he was in the army and whatever. He had to go do traveling and stuff like that. Like, you can understand why she held on. She was also a lot older, but Tifa in her mind hadn't seen Cloud since she was 13. Never heard from him again until 20. But her feelings, you have to think about how deep those feelings have to be for the second that you all lay eyes on each other again. It is just, the spark is just reignited. And then what's great about Cloudy is that puppy love, that, building into something more adult and real. When they see each other again, they are indeed the people that they always thought they would be. And and that's why they aren't just, people who were kids that had a crush on each other, but then, we've all had somebody from our childhood like, oh, I had a crush on A, B, and C. Then you meet them as an adult, you're like, that wasn't the case. They turned out to be the people they wanted each other to be to a large degree. And hey Sora, how you doing? First time chat. Whoop whoop. And by the way, I wanted to acknowledge how did you say the name? Tanagreed? No, Tanagreed. Sorry. Your friend?
Tanagreed knows.
Yes.
Yes.
I never get why people think someone could only like her for her boobs. It's really dumb. Yeah, it is. I'm planning on doing a video about Tifa specifically because it is just nonsense. How do you play this game and think she's just like a supermodel walking around getting by on her looks? It's crazy. I just wanted to acknowledge that she said that. In reality, there's only a couple. Yeah. So, yeah. Cloudy as adults, all those feelings are realized and they're rewarded. All those years of pining for each other are rewarded because they get their dream person in a lot of ways. And just a small note. It isn't dream person like a fairy tale dream. The core of Cloud and Tifa, they are devoted to each other. It is internal battles with Cloud and external battles with the world that keep them apart. Not like, it's not anything like Cloud has a problem with Tifa. Tifa has a problem with Cloud as a person, or Cloud, you know, it's his internal struggles with self-esteem and guilt. He is super guilt ridden. You know, so many people that he's had to watch die and all these other stuff. Like he has a lot of, and this goes back to the mental health thing. Cloud isn't a bad boyfriend or some people even go as far as saying he's abusive to Tifa after A, B, and C because he's depressed. The man spent 4 years being tortured by Hojo. Who wouldn't be depressed? I mean, you know what I'm saying? He had to watch multiple friends die. He had to watch his hometown burn down. And now Tifa goes through a lot of the same battles that Cloud does. His are just more external because of the way that he responds to different trauma. Whereas Tifa, for the most part, can hold herself together. It's only around Cloud that she really falls apart, just like with the resolution scene. They, again, the Omega had so, and the reason I keep mentioning Omega, there's so much information that just, you know, things that Cloudy's always talk about and believed, but the fact that they're written right there in a book that was made in 2005, confirming all these things that we always believed about Cloud and Tifa. It's just amazing. Well, one day we just got to go through the Ultimania. I mean, honestly, I keep going down. The Tifa and Cloud profiles are incredible. But yeah, so I don't know where I was going with that. Y'all know I get lost in my thoughts. Why don't we? Yeah, let's because this is 7:25. We haven't even touched the Highwind scene. So let's kind of dive right into. Let's see. Well, we're all familiar with Remake, and after let's talk the live stream scene and then get into the Highwind scene. The live stream scene, if you're not aware, for anybody who, I mean, I apologize because you're definitely getting spoiled today. The 25
years.
Absolutely.
I just got to put that out there.
25 years. So we have Medill, where Cloud has fallen into the live stream again, and his mind is gone again. They don't know if he's going to recover. Everybody knows that he was never a soldier. Most of the stuff that he believed wasn't true. He just helped Sephiroth essentially end the world. He gave him the black materia. He's the reason Meteor has been cast. He's catatonic, useless to the world. But that love that Tifa has for him is so powerful. She stays by his side, and this is gonna be brutal in the remake, by the way. I mean, watching her cry over him, oh, it's gonna hurt. But yeah. I love that her devotion to him is so full that even when he is useless to the world, she refused to leave her side. She basically dies trying to save him, and I say that because, had Cloud not heard her crying out to him, she would be dead. I mean, she fell into the life. She would be gone. So even though it was do or die, like, you got to get out of here or you're going to die, she was trying to get Cloud out in a wheelchair, out to safety. And that's when they both fell into the live stream. I mean, it kind of tears me up a little bit just because I'm not actually going to cry, but it's a powerful thing for you to love somebody more than your own life. And that is what Cloud has shown the entire time. Again, falling off that bridge trying to save her, and going against Sephiroth, the greatest soldier on Earth, trying to save her and from being killed off by, because Sephiroth probably would have killed everybody in that room had he not stopped him eventually. He is constantly putting his chapter 7, when he fell from Reactor 5, and he's like, Barrett, get Tifa out of here. He doesn't care about what happens to him. He wants to make sure that girl, that woman right there, is safe. So, and she returns that devotion during this, and that's what ultimately leads to the live stream scene. So, and the live stream scene, of course, is when all is revealed. It turns out Cloud has always had feelings for Tifa. He became a soldier because all the stuff that we've already talked about as far as his childhood. And then he remembers the truth about Nibelheim. He was there, but he was never a soldier. He was a foot soldier. And, we've all gone down there. So let's get into the Highwinds. Well, let me let you have some thoughts on that. And then we'll actually play the Highwind scene. I have the raw footage for the Highwind scene.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Actually, that's something I was actually thinking about. Is that yes? Okay, and
you don't have to rush yourself. Go ahead.
To go in, I mean, one thing about again, if you pay attention to the game, you pay attention to what the developers and the authors and the writers are saying. They're spelling it out. It's not going to be. It's not going to be spoon-fed to you, but it's not going to be, but it's not as cryptic as it seems at first. And that is like the Highwind is the culmination of all of of everything, but the live stream is the pivotal moment for them. It took them 15 years, and I'm gonna count Cloud already having a crush on Tifa or them having a crush on each other as 5-6-year-old. It took them 15 years to get to this point.
Whew.
Nobody and nobody can and you said there on one end, yes, it's like a trauma bond. It's also a sorry, the raw footage. Sorry. Sorry.
That was a funny way to put it. I'm sorry. Yeah. The raw footage. Yes, we got the Italian Senate Tifa coming your way.
Oh yeah,
that's
it's
funny.
Anyway. What was I saying? Oh yeah, that's right. It's just it's. Like, it is so essential for that to happen, because I actually kind of I actually about a month ago I started writing a little bit of a fan fiction about like a what if Aerith were to live and Tifa were to take her place, being the character that died. First of all, the easiest thing is that that Cloud would not recover from that. Cloud would be able to be overtaken by Sephiroth, so either he would be lost like Jesse's father was in between life and death, and possibly would never get to the live stream, or he would be Sephiroth and Genova's puppet for for the rest of eternity,
for an extra week, I guess, because
Meteor. That's true. That's true. But then like there's that idea that like I remember also watching very recently as well a very controversial movie within religious communities called The Last Temptation of Christ, starring Willem Dafoe, who played the Green Goblin in Spider-Man. And basically that and the story of or the fan fiction I was thinking about was like, what if that was the case? Aerith, the last temptation that Sephiroth gave Aerith was that she could live, and that she could live, that she could live, and that she could live, and that she could live with the person that the person that she would live with her soldier or whatever like that, right?
Yeah.
And
I've already declared that Aerith dated Cloud earlier, so don't feel.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, and so when I started exploring the characters and what would happen, what dominoes would fall in a similar way that like, in a similar way that that Tifa is essential for Cloud to get back to who he is. Aerith or Tifa not being there, and Aerith being the I guess not the person that would be able to heal Cloud. He would just keep on going down spiraling down until the point where Aerith's like, I can't do this anymore. I can't bear to see Cloud like this. Let Sephiroth, let me take his place, or let me take my rightful place.
Yeah. Man, that's a good enough, because you said green. Which one did you say? Because there's so many greens. What the green? What
Green Goblin.
Goblin. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
I was like Green Lantern, Green Goblin, Green Arrow.
Green Mako.
I know. But no, that is interesting.
Yeah, so so when I think about that, it's just like, yeah, it's like there's nobody who could ever take Tifa's place in that live stream scene, or else the world would, if the world doesn't end, Cloud would never recover.
Absolutely, it would never recover. It's never going to happen because part of the live stream scene, a large part of it, yes, Nibelheim, learning the truth about Nibelheim is important, but it's like the cherry on top. The problem isn't not knowing what happened in Nibelheim. When you think about the Nibelheim incident, there's nothing that they need to know about it. Only, like, there's not any, like he remembered there's a safe combination that they need to remember, and it's locked in Cloud's mind, and that's the only way they can. There's nothing about the actual incident that they need information about outside of Cloud realizing that he's the real Cloud. So when you think about the live stream scene, most of it is about them trying to find the real Cloud. It's not about the Nibelheim incident. They go into, you see what I mean? I may be saying it weirdly, but most of it is about Cloud not thinking that he's the real Cloud, and Tifa trying to convince him that he is. And that's why they have to go back into the childhood. But not only just the childhood, she tells him, tell me something that even I wouldn't know, but that I, sort of like that I wouldn't know, but I can confirm. And that's why he goes into the bridge thing. He not only remembers the bridge incident and can tell her everything that happened, he remembers the aftermath, and he remembers lying about, he not only remembers details that she doesn't know, she also can confirm all the details that she did know leading up to it. And he also, and then his motivation for becoming a soldier, all that, and why he built this soldier persona. It's also revealing why, of all things, that you pretend to be a soldier. Like, it's all about Cloud convincing himself he's the real Cloud. And what's crazy about the live stream scene is Cloud does the ultimate selfless act in his mind. He puts, like I said, he puts his mind in danger constantly. If y'all wonder why I keep doing this, I got nail glue on my hand. Sorry. But yeah, he hears Tifa calling him in that moment. And it's either bring her into his mind, which means exposing his, as he called it, sealed up secret wish, or they die, or she dies. Now, you notice he wasn't in any rush to bring himself up out of that catatonic state. But when Tifa's life was in danger, as usual, happy anniversary, Joey. When Tifa's life was in danger, as he has always done since he was 9 years old, he put her life over his feelings, or over his own life. He knew to put her into his mind, his subconscious. You can't control your subconscious to a large degree. I mean, it's, it is Final Fantasy, but you can't control your subconscious too. I mean, but he also knows that the only way to save himself is to remember who he is. And that is going to expose him being in love with her to her. And she could have absolutely rejected him. Her rejection is his worst fear.
Yep.
That motivates so much out of his life, is the fear of not being good enough for her, or being rejected by her. And it is such a selfless act. When you think about it that way, that is an unbreakable love. And to me, it doesn't matter how many women he ever came across. Once he remembers his true self, and he truly remembers the depths of his feelings for Tifa, there's just no question, because that's real Cloud inside his subconscious trying to bring out, they're all in there. There's a whole lot of clouds happening in there. A big one in the sky and all this other, but real Cloud is the little kid, and he's also in there, and he remembers what all this was about. So anyway.
And what's so beautiful about that scene as well is that when you go through counseling, for, and mental health things, you always talk about your childhood. You talk about ways that your childhood was incomplete,
Mm-hmm.
and the way they portrayed that with the different clouds, just going together, going together to create the complete cloud again. It was like, yeah, it, it it's it was the completion of his childhood,
Mm-hmm.
and it was and seeing that, and then having to go through counseling myself, and encountering and learning about that. I look back on that scene, and I'm just like, that scene, that moment gets me. That moment gets me
Oh
because
yeah.
it's like, because mental, yeah, it's like that was his start going back to a place of, a mental healthiness, and
Mm-hmm.
which is so damn important.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, and that, and it's just, and and how intimate that moment was. It
Mm-hmm.
also doesn't compare, or it does compare, rather. It's equal footing to, what they shared a few days later.
Yeah. Speaking of intimate moments, hey, look, that was a perfect transition right there. So we're gonna get right
Professional
into it.
broadcaster, sorry.
Absolutely. Woo, woo. All right, let's turn that down. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the live stream scene. And Lex, you have just been a joy to talk to this whole time. I feel like I've mostly been rambling, and you've actually been making some good points.
Nah,
But
it's stuff like this. It's as an actor, I kind of think of it as a two-hander scene. It's like you give, the other person gives, and you just keep on giving. That's what it is. That's what these shows are about.
hey, and
And that's
speaking
what
of giving,
hell yeah.
yeah, there's about to be a whole lot of giving. Oh, we're showing the high affection. Let's show it real quick. I want to get to the meat and bones. Meat and potatoes, whatever, meat and bones. That was a
Well,
odd.
I mean, it is the Highwind scene.
Yeah, well, let's see. Yeah, we're gonna get to basically up until they about right here. So, because I think the video that I was given also includes like Tifa falling out in embarrassment and all that.
That's the one. Yep.
Let's see.
Would you be able to would you be able to like to Dropbox that to me?
Yeah.
This
Oh yeah.
particular. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm sure someday they'll come back, don't you think? I
Hmm.
wonder. Oh, well, you can do Cloud.
Okay, fine, whichever one. Everyone has something irreplaceable they're holding on to, but this time, our opponent. I gotta go and go with the rhythm of the video.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, I'm not trying to do it. Y'all have the dramatic reading. But that's all right if no one comes back. As long as we're together, with you by my side, I'll never give up no matter how bad it gets.
Tifa.
Tifa-san.
Ooh.
No matter how close we are now, we were far apart before. But when we were in live stream surrounded by all those screams of anguish, I thought of your voice, I think. Sniff. You probably don't remember. But deep in my heart, I heard you calling my name, or at least I thought I did.
Yeah, I heard you calling me. You were calling me back from the consciousness in the live stream. After all, I promised that if anything ever happened to you, I'd come to help. Remembers it on his own.
Mm-hmm.
I love
Cloud,
the times.
do you think the
Sorry.
stars can hear us? Oh, go ahead.
No, I love the times that like she actually tosses her hair aside, like she fixes her hair, as opposed to the low affection scene where she kind of just not like she doesn't do that.
Oh, okay. I've only ever seen the high affection scene. So, I mean, I've seen the low affection, but I mean, like, every time I played, I've gotten the high affection, so I don't even remember it. Someday we'll find the answer. Right? Okay. That's what I learned from you when I was in the live stream. That was your work. Yes, that's right.
I sound like Titus, apparently. So. damn it.
Hey, Tifa, there were so many things I wanted to say to you. But now that we're together like this, I don't know what to say. I guess nothing's changed at all. Funny, isn't it? Cloud, words aren't the only thing that tell people what you're thinking.
That line is just
delicious.
Like, yeah. Funny thing is, though. Funny.
Now we all know what this part means.
Well, we all should know what this part means.
Yeah, I just wanted to watch that little snippet. That was the heart of the matter.
Mm-hmm.
Whew, very spicy.
It's interesting when when Tadabiknos and I were analyzing the scene and preparing to do the dramatic read and record it and everything. We found so many little different things that Cloud and Tifa were feeling at that point that were very, very that don't necessarily come out unless you actually act the scene and be in their and be in their characters.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
One thing that in one of the things that like actors or in one scene study, I guess, theory, for lack of a better term, is what they call the 12 guideposts, and one to scene study, and it goes through a whole bunch of different aspects of character, so you have such a rich understanding of what goes on just in one scene, and then you stretch it out to the entire show. But one of the games, or one of those things, is called role and game playing. And whenever I think of Cloud and Tifa, I think of yo-yo. I in my mind, it's a yo-yo. It's all, it's not a tug of war. It's just that, like, it's like there's a constant push and pull with them.
Yes.
Like within themselves, within themselves, they want to be together. They know they want to be together, but they just it's like they themselves are the ones pushing them away half the time. So
yeah, and that's exactly what I was saying about Cloud. It's not that Tifa is trying to make him feel less than or anything like that. It's him feeling less than. It's his internal struggle. And Tifa also suffers from some low self-esteem and not feeling, I don't know that she actively feels not good enough, but you can tell. Like, there's this pose in Alone at Last, for instance, when she actually lets go because she gets so excited, like, oh my god, okay, we're back, let's hit the town. And then it's like she has this internal moment when Cloud says, really? And she realizes, oh, shit, I just asked this man out on a date. And she steps back a little and holds herself. She does this thing when she's nervous, so she holds herself like this. Mm-hmm. And she says, why not? It'll be fun, But she let go a little bit in that moment. And not to mention the U word again, but the Ultimania Omega said that Cloud brings out the femininity in her. There's two things. It said, one, that not that he brings out the femininity in her, but she's basically just had to be so strong for so long. I mean, we know everything that she's gone through, especially if you know the part of Traces of Two Paths of her building herself back up from nothing. She's had to be so independent for so long, but when Cloud is around, she feels safe enough to be vulnerable, almost, is what they were getting at. And so she subconsciously lets her guard down, and more of her true self comes out. I mean, they use almost the same phrasing as when they talk about the resolution scene and how real Cloud comes out around Tifa. It's the same thing with Tifa. So you will notice, even in Remake especially, that her body, she does a lot of like posing when she's around Cloud, like you said, flipping the hair that she does all the time when she's with Cloud in OG. You can see it if you know that information and you look for it. There's a lot of little things that she does around Cloud, giggling all the time and stuff like that. I don't know what the original point was that I was making. I guess I'm just saying I like that they both feel like they can let their guard down around each other. Yeah, and they said that when Cloud was away, that she didn't realize how much she didn't even realize how much she needed Cloud as much as she needs him until they couldn't find him. It was right before Medill. They mentioned that stuff. We're gonna go over that ultimately one day because it is a fascinating read. Go ahead.
I want to say as well, like, one thing about Tifa, and like, being around Cloud makes her stronger, obviously, right? That's something and even the little things with Johnny.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, it's just like, it's almost like, okay, with Al. With Al and giving her the flower, and then she tells Al where to stick the flower and everything, straight, to shine it up, turn it sideways, stick it straight up your candy ass. Hey, Dwayne Johnson. I know Dwayne, you're watching right now.
Yeah,
so,
of course he is. He's a Cloudy. Of course he is. Yeah. Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, like, with Johnny, it's himself. It's just like, it's not like she wants to keep him on a hook or anything like that. It's just that there's a part of, it seems like there's a part of her that kind of makes her feel kind of like, she doesn't want to make Johnny feel, she doesn't want to hurt Johnny's feelings, basically, right? In chapter 3, she had to go talk to Johnny, and Johnny actually had said himself, it's like, I'm gonna go. I'm sorry, Tifa, I gotta go, whatever, like that, right? Yeah. And it wasn't Tifa telling him to go away, it was Johnny saying it himself, right? But after the hug, after when they start, like, going through Wall Market one last time before they head up the Shinra Tower, Johnny comes up and say, hey, he's actually bold enough to say, hey, I'm gonna go out of Midgard, I'm gonna see the world, unless you want to have me, Tifa. And Tifa's like, goodbye, Johnny.
Yeah, bye, Johnny. You know what? I didn't think about that as a direct. Yeah, like, that's crazy though, because he boldly says that, and it's like she would have had the opposite. She would have had the opposite response if Cloud had said, I'm going to go join Soldier and all this, or he gave some indication, well, I'm thinking that, but what do you think? If he had even just been like, what do you think to do? Do you think I should stay? Do you want me to stay? If he had said the words, do you want me to stay? She would have said yes. Yep, no question in my mind.
And Cloud would have stayed in Nibelheim.
Mm-hmm.
And they both...
And the world would have been screwed.
Yeah.
But, I just love them. But to the Highwind scene, you made some excellent points, and I will say what's powerful about this scene as well is because Cloud has just confessed his feeling. Now, to what degree that he remembers it, he remembers Tifa calling out to him. He seems to remember some stuff, but it isn't entirely sure how much he remembers. But I think he does know that he, like, confessed his feelings to this girl, basically, in the live stream. And for him to get the validation, because when she says that line, you can see you see the ... the wheels are turning, and Cloud is like, whoa, wait a second. And even leading up to that line, she's saying, as long as I have you by my side, I can take on anything and stuff like that. And Cloud is slowly realizing that she's confessing feelings to him. And when she says that words aren't the only way, I mean, she told the man to use his body and not his words. This is if that isn't an invitation to sex, I don't know what is. Okay. And then the scene fades to black. Okay, the scene fades to black, and I don't know what people think they were doing all night, playing canasta. I don't know what people thought they were doing, but go ahead.
Settlers of Catan. That's what they got.
So it's just it's not even that the Highwind scene. I mean, if I had to come up with a favorite scene, it would not be the Highwind scene for me. Mm-hmm. The Highwind scene is just satisfying because it's like you've been holding your breath for the entire game, waiting for these two to stop being idiots. and realize they love each other. And the Highwind is like when you finally just, okay, the world is right. I'm not crazy. I everything I've been seeing this entire time is real. Okay. Yeah, so it's a wonderful, wonderful scene.
If I could get sentimental for a second, after and I will answer Chocobo Stable or in remake, I would love to see that.
Yes.
But what if I look at the if I was looking at the lines back and over and over again of that particular of that particular scene, the Highwind scene, it was it was basically a for it for I guess all intents and purposes a wedding scene in disguise almost to me.
Yeah, it was like wedding vows. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Tifa flat out said, as like, as long as you're with me, I'm not going to be scared.
Mm-hmm.
And Cloud says, and Cloud, he wants to see you. Tifa knows he wants to say the same thing that she has just said to him, but he doesn't know how to do it.
Well, he does say, I told you, I promised you, if you ever needed me, I'd be there for you.
That's right. That's right. Vow right there. He vowed it when he was 13.
But see, he didn't see it as a vow then.
No, he didn't.
You see what I'm saying? Like I as an adult now he realizes, because he also was wrestling with this or beginning to understand this. He was a kid too, just like we were saying. Tifa wasn't totally aware that she was falling in love with Cloud. Cloud probably was the same way, and now he realizes as an adult, I told this girl I'd die for her when I was 13,
Mm-hmm.
And so when he says it again in that moment, now they're adults, and he's just confessed his feelings to her, and they've gone through all this stuff in the last 6 weeks, and yeah, it's a powerful, powerful moment for him to relay that promise to her again. And that's what he does.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, if anybody's wondering why we celebrate this on January 20th, I should have said this at the top of the hour, or whichever hour we started. The 10th anniversary Ultimania gives dates, and the date that they gave for the final battle is 1/21. And if you, let's see, I'm gonna pull this over here. I made a tweet thread earlier about all the times that this that particular line by Tifa's referenced, and it'll be coming up next. But I just want to say, of course, the game itself, but last year for Valentine's Day, Square Enix actually tweeted this out. I think it was PlayStation that said, "What are your most memorable Valentine's Day quotes or something, or Valentine quotes or whatever, romantic quotes?" And they said her line right there, or YouTube Gaming. I'm sorry. And of course, Cloudy's just, we just combusted. And then I mentioned that they're still using that line on the Giphy. You can't see it right here, but the Giphy actually, let's see. Oh, there it is. There we go. So they have a Giphy account. This official Giphy account. They have Cloud's face in that line that they're still using today. Right now, if you go to their Giphy, it's right there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so, and then Tifa Dissidia, her reveal is stunning because it starts off with her sitting on something that looks sort of like a water tower. She jumps down, Cloud's by her, he's the only one that's fighting with her. They're fighting Sephiroth, and then at the end of the game, at the end of the little trailer, she says that line again. Now, this is what I was getting to. What was I getting to? Let's see. You know what? What was I saying before this? What is wrong with me today?
Anybody in the chat can remind us?
That is yeah. I just went into this whole thing.
Help us rewind the videotape.
But well, I don't know. All right, well. Once again, losing my train of thought. Let's see. We were talking about the Yeah, when she says that line, okay, I'm sure it'll come back to me, but
Yeah.
I did want to bring up all these times that SE themselves, and these are part of the Ultimania quotes that I was talking about. There's like 3, 4 that I just found skimming through today that were pretty amazing, but yeah, I don't remember. But we were talking about wedding vows, and yeah, I like that analogy that you made about wedding vows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll watch this back and be like, oh, that's what I was trying to say.
Talk about the final battle.
It is so easy to get lost in thought when you're.
Line.
Yeah, it's so easy to get lost in thought when you talk about CloTi. There's just so much to them. There's just so much to the story, and now you've got me thinking about the wedding vows thing. That is a great analogy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that night under the stars, and then when you think about this moment, the world is about to end. They've lost so much and all that, but they just seem so at peace with one another, like just being with each other. They're just so at peace. There's this, you almost forget what's about to happen,
Mm-hmm.
And waking up and Tifa's so peaceful when she wakes up. Now I don't know exactly how this is gonna happen. What I'm hoping for is some spooning in the morning, but that's my own personal horny headcanon. But
Not a bad headcanon.
I'm just saying. Oh, I will say, when somebody mentioned the Chocobo stable, by the way, that was you'll hear this joke. There actually is a dev interview, and it's down here as well. There's a dev interview that talks about that. So Nojima says the original idea was more extreme. The plan was to have Cloud walk out of the Chocobo stable on board the Highwind, followed by Tifa while checking around, but Katase turned it down. But even with the line in question, maybe at the time none of us thought it would be something so important, but it turned out to be a very famous line. So basically what they were trying to do is clearly convey that sex happened without, I mean, it was 1997, it was a kids game. They can't just jump out there and be like, hey, it's not America. They can't just jump out there and show two people getting it on camera, so yeah.
Well, polygons wouldn't have helped, but
Well, that's a good. It would have been like Team America. You remember Team America? Oh man, now that would have been worth seeing. I'm sorry, that would have been worth seeing. Well,
yeah. It is their little wedding scene and their honeymoon, and and then
and their honeymoon.
yeah, and the honeymoon, and then and then guess what? You got to face the world together now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like just when the honeymoon ends, you actually have to live life together. And in this in this case, it could have been just the one day.
Yeah.
Luckily for them, it wasn't.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow! And then when you think about, there's some cute moments the day after. Of course, when Tifa falls out from complete embarrassment, realizing that the others saw them. And again, what is she embarrassed about? For the people who think that nothing happened.
She's embarrassed that she only had Settlers of Catan.
She's embarrassed that she told a good friend that he was still a good friend to her. I actually had somebody tell me, "Oh, they just had a nice friendly chat." Okay, yeah, that would be something to be embarrassed about. Did you watch us talk about being friends? Okay, but
I think Cloud would have been more embarrassed at that point.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Sid be just like, man, you got to go to the stars with her. And this. Wow. That's another thing. Okay, that's one scene that I mean, I joked about this before on different on different groups, but one of my favorite things, and I think they're gonna do this for the remake. I love the fact that Sid gets his chance to go to space, and he gets to go with Shera. Sid's music is just perfect for that triumphant, that boldly go kind of feel about that scene.
Yeah.
But because Cloud goes up there, this is after this is after he get this is after he gets better, after everything. If
His
correct me
mind
if
is
I'm wrong.
repaired, I believe.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong. But his mind is repaired, and the one woman there who repaired his mind. Of course she's gonna go to. Of course she's gonna go up to space with him. She's not gonna
Oh,
lose him to the vacuum of space.
wow. Yeah, they do
And
see the stars together in a sense. I mean, and stars are such a big motif with CloTi. I mean,
that's the reason why I think it will that it won't be a choice, because in the original
no,
game
no,
it
no,
was a
no.
choice.
Mm-mm.
It will not be a choice. Tifa will go into space with Cloud, Sid, and Shira, and and instead of them sitting across each other in the original game, they're going to be sitting beside each other, and they're going to have a moment. They're going to have a moment where
Absolutely.
they're going to be where they're going to where they're going to remember 13 years old, they were sitting on the water tower looking up at the stars,
Oh man,
and
that's
then
gonna be don't even. Oh, I'm getting so excited you talking about this. I really hope it happens.
hire me, Katase, hire me, please.
Hire me, my precious. Yes, no, that's a great one. I never thought about that. Yeah, there are going to be a lot of non-optional scenes anymore. I mean, there's just too much. There's too many things you could miss. Like how Zack actually died, the fact that Cloud was trapped for 4 years and Zack died saving his life and all that. Those are all buried in optional scenes. The fact that Aerith says that Zack was her first love. I mean, there's too many things that could be missed by somebody when you got 9 people and it's totally dependent upon who you decide to fight with. So yeah, I agree with you that I think that is going to be they are all. I don't think all of them are going to be there. I think Tifa's going to be with them. That makes the most sense to me. I don't know why anybody else would be. But yeah, the Highwind scene, I would call the Highwind scene the climax of Cloudy's relationship.
Yep, climax.
I mean, in every sense of the word, really. And another thing, I'm seriously, and another thing that's really sweet about them. I am not somebody who romanticizes, puritanical values like virginity and things like that, but that also goes back to the origins and the pure nature of how they came to fall in love with one another, and the fact that they are each other's first everything. So then, like, for us hornier Cloudy's like Nightmare and I, we think about, like, it's not just the sex, but it's just everything. They get to experience love and all the things that love can give you with one another. It's just such a beautiful, beautiful slow burn, aggravating but beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, kiss already. That train roll scene, I could have died. I mean, Cloudy's around the world just dropped to the floor. Our jaws just went off the hinges. You know what I mean?
That's like, yeah, it's like the developers were like flagrant about it this time.
Oh, they were just it was downright. I mean, that hug and Aerith's flowers, downright disrespectful. I mean, just, they named now look, for anyone who doesn't know, the actual flower that Aerith gives to Cloud and then Cloud gives to Tifa, Stargazer Lily. Golden Stargazer Lily. They retconned this flower to make it cloudy. They have a whole moment. And by the way, the resolution scene, definitely plenty of foreshadowing to the live stream scene. The way that they're angled, like him being behind her like that and her conveying feelings in general to him. She finally tells somebody how she's feeling inside. I mean, that's what it's about. She finally lets go and lets go of her grief, and then they have that hug, which the Ultimanias flat out say Cloud felt like he crossed the line with that hug. And they're sitting in a bed of flowers. She just told him that she knows what the flower means. That it's a reunion flower. It is a really romantic, like, it is the cloudy climax of remake, and we're gonna get that. This is why I know we're gonna get a kiss. How do they possibly top everything they've done until now? With all that teacher-student banter in chapter 3, all that flirting they did in chapter 3, then you have the train roll scene. I mean, these two are rolling around in the haze.
Yeah.
You know, the hug, all that. I mean, they have so many full frontal moments, like the train roll, the hug, there's the grappling gun scene. Then there's a scene in chapter 12. Not that I know all this. I don't have like a CloTi Rolodex in my I'm embarrassed about something.
It's just all in your head, that's all.
But there's too much touching and rubbing and all kinds of stuff going on. And this is part 1. If you played OG, it is the least amount of CloTi out of the entire game. But now remake they amplified the CloTi moments. They canonized a lot of moments that were optional into CloTi, and then they just started tossing CloTi at you. Train roll, resolution scene, grappling scene, chapter 17, where she saves his life. And that's also one last thing I want to mention. Chapter 17 is a parallel to the mountain, because even though he didn't know she was there watching him, and when he needed, you know what I mean? Like, that's a parallel.
Oh yeah.
You see what I'm saying? She didn't know that he had her back when she was going up the mountain, but he was there, and he was okay if she never knew he was there. And I think if Tifa had seen that he was okay, I think she would have just quietly took herself downstairs and, or whatever. But she wanted him to be able to do what he wanted to do, which is fight Rufus alone and be his hero, be the hero. But when he needed her, she was there. It's just that is CloTi. They are as you know what? As one of the last things I want to do, because I do have to go soon. Let me read from On the Way to a Smile. I think I have to pass. I was about to get up and get the book, but I have it. You go ahead and say some thoughts while I pull this up, if you have anything else.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, thank you to all of the viewers and the listeners right now who've tuned in. This is a great conversation that we're having. Night to remember here on Stygian Stilettos Gamer Twitch, and it is. I just love the engagement of all the comments over here. It's just it's really cool to see, just just real time stuff happening, and being able to interact that way. It's because it is whether people know it or not, and this has been said in the chat as well. It is probably the best built romantic story in all of video gaming, without it being totally a romantic story.
Exactly, because they have built this incredible love story and woven it into a game that is so rich with so many different difficult topics. You know what I mean? There's a whole story, and that's why the idea that they're about to retcon the entire story to make it anything other than it is. There is already so much to cover with Final Fantasy VII that has nothing to do with romance or Cloud's motivations. There's a whole plot happening. There's a whole lot of stuff happening. But the fact that they were able to build this beautiful, beautiful love story between these two inside of it all, just can't get enough of it. Real quick, I want to read from On the Way to a Smile, and I think this sums up CloTi. So this is from pages 36 and 37 from episode Tifa, or Case of Tifa as people most know it. The guilt she knew lay coiled within her, and she could only wonder how she was meant to go on living with that suffocating embrace around her heart. As she looked to what soon would be the ruins of Midgar, Tifa feared her future. Oh, this is what I'm reading, by the way. But next to her, Cloud was watching the same scene and smiling serenely. That smile was nothing she'd ever seen during their travels. Cloud sensed her gaze. What? Cloud, you're smiling. Am I? Yep. This is where it starts. Anew, he paused, looking for the right words. A new life, he finally said. I'm going to keep on living. I think it'd be wrong to do anything else after all that's happened. Yeah, I guess you're right. When I think of how many times I've told myself that, though, it makes me laugh. What do you mean? Because I've always screwed it up. That's not funny. But this time, I think it'll be okay. He thought for a bit before adding, because this time I have you. We've kind of always had each other, haven't we? Yeah, but now I know what that means. Cloud replied, smiling again. They've always had each other. Even when they didn't know it. Whether it was one having the other or it being a mutual habit, eventually it becomes a mutual thing, but they have always had each other. And that is the story of, I love Cloudy. Getting in my feelings again. Yes. Thank you. Totally platonic, of course. Absolutely. So, and you have to think about when he says that happens right after OG. Cloud is looking at the ruins of the world and smiling because he has Tifa. Let's wrap this up. I did. I was like, debate over.
Yep.
Okay. Hey, you're at the very end. Sorry, WJ. Glad to stop by.
What up?
Yeah, we should definitely do this again. This is my first time doing a joint podcast, so I appreciate everybody sticking with us, me constantly losing my train of thought, me screwing up the camera stuff in the beginning, but I've had a ton of fun with Lexi. You could tell who the professional broadcaster is here. But he's been a great joy to have on the stream today. Yeah. Give us your last thoughts, Lex.
Well, it's the more I play this game and the more I indulge into the lore of this game, it just solidifies to me that, like, as much as I've loved so many games in the past, this will always and ever be my favorite #1 game of all time. Point a gun to my head and ask you and ask me what's my favorite game of all time. Final Fantasy VII, and I'll say remake because, my God, what we got from all of that already. But it's just like, but Final Fantasy VII, everything about it is just great. And they're the ones that make the game. They didn't screw around. Birthday boy Nojima-san didn't screw around when he wanted to see Cloud and Tifa together, because that is the crux of the entire the world is better because of them. The world is alive because of them. And that's something I also tweeted to Nojima, is that the world is a better place because of your creativity. The world is a better place because you worked so hard to get these characters the way you wanted them to.
Yes.
And it's just it's inspiring to see. It's inspiring to see that, like, that greatness, but subtle greatness, and it's just the same way that Cloud and Tifa are, because Tifa's not Lara Croft, being plastered on all over the news, whatever like that. Cloud is not Nathan Drake, who's got his own movie right now.
Yes,
but the greatness that they have is a subtle greatness, and that's exactly the way that. That's exactly the way that Nojima, that Kazushige Nojima is.
Yeah, absolutely. He is a silent hero in and of himself. He will never know how many lives he's touched, and to see that he just goes on Twitter and shares his love about guinea pigs and whatever, music that he likes, and stuff. He's just a normal guy too, there's something very relatable about the developers, especially Nojima. You see him, he's not like some dude sitting up in a tux constantly, like, all about his image and everything. And he looks great. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying he's just a regular dude. He seems like a chillax dude, but he's also a genius.
Yeah. He is.
Yeah. So happy birthday. I wish I could say your first name, Kazushige. Is that how I say it? I don't want to screw it up.
Kazushige. Yeah. That's the best I can do without being a Japanese speaker.
But yes, Nojima, we love you. We appreciate you. Oh, and happy birthday, and we look, we wish you 100 more birthdays for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that's a beautiful way to sum up everything today. Ended with a little Nojima love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well,
Yeah.
I think that's it. We definitely will do this again. I'm going to start doing some fireside chats for CloTi. Bring a lot more CloTies from, like the different communities, Reddit and all that, Twitter, of course, and all that. And get some more people on the podcast because there are a lot of brilliant people that I talk to every day. They make me look like an idiot, and I love it. So I don't mind being the dumb one. You know what I mean? No, seriously. We what I love about CloTies, and I'm gonna give CloTies some love, and it isn't no knock to anybody else. I'm just speaking for my people. What I love about CloTies is we will gush over CloTi all day, but we also every day somebody, hey, I just translated this out of the Ultimate, or can you tell me this source of this and that, or who has the source of A, B, and C, and or somebody will say, just like we had a little moment earlier, like we don't mind correcting each other, challenging each other, like part of why we love CloTi, a big part. It's not that I like canon, therefore I like anything that's canon. Lucrezia and Hojo are canon. Trust me, I don't ship them.
That's an atrocious relationship.
Absolutely.
If there ever was one.
Absolutely. But it's the fact that I like CloTi, and there's so much that backs up and adds to why I love CloTi. You have that initial attraction to a pairing, but then to get more and more content that builds up that relationship, and then have all these confirmations throughout interviews, and you get more pieces of information about the insights into the characters' minds and stuff. Like, it's nice that what I love about CloTi is it's amplified by the fact that it's canon. So it's almost hard to divorce the two, because for me, if I believe something to be real, but then I'm being shown or seen exactly, it would mess with me a little bit. You know what I mean? I like that my conclusion keeps getting more pieces added onto it from the developers and things like that, and getting to see more facets of their relationship. So at this point, it is intertwined for me. I don't know about you. What are your personal feelings? I mean, it's not that I care about canon about everything. Trust me, I have some crack ships. But the way I ship CloTi is like nothing I have ever done before. Let's just end on that. What are your last thoughts on that?
Well, that's the story of a man named Brady. No, sorry. Sorry. That train of thought went sideways. No, there is a way to tell a story. There are and there's proven ways to tell a story over the years, not just through the written word, not just through the voice, but also through the way that actors use their bodies and use the inside of themselves in order to create the truth. And one thing that I also admired about, and I don't usually talk about religion other than like my inner circles, but Pope John Paul II, he was an actor himself.
Really?
He was an actor, yeah. He was actually he was part of the resistance. As an actor, he was there was things he was doing as an actor that I believe there's like, it was during World War II, and there was and he was obviously part of the resistance against the Nazis. So,
I would hope so.
Yeah. But
I was about to say, don't idolize him.
Yeah, exactly. But because of his experiences as an actor, that's one of the reasons why he loved the stage, and he loved the media. Actually, he loved the media of television, and near the end of his life, what the internet could be, because of the fact that these mediums have the potential to speak truth.
Yes.
And and to abuse these mediums to speak things that are not truth. Now, there's of course Socratic. There's of course Socratic debate and everything, where you debate something and the truth's somewhere in the middle, somewhere, whatever like that. But then like when it comes to truth, it's like, and that's something that inspired me to continue on with acting and to continue on with broadcasting and things like that, because of the potential for truth. And when I see what I see with CloTi and Final Fantasy VII and the richness of that story, there is a truth, a very, very big, very, very underlying but very strong truth of the human condition that shows the greatness of it, the ugliness of it.
Yes.
And it all comes together just so well. And Cloud and Tifa are both both microcosms of the ugliness and the beauty of the human condition.
Yes. And all the characters are, but especially
exactly,
CloTi, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Exactly, and it's and because because it's that truth gets shown so well within this game. That's one of the reasons why I love this game even more and more every day, and why and why it pains me. It just pains me to see just the ugly takes that there are out there that are so far divorced from truth. And, yeah, and you can, and it's like, but the thing is, it's like, it's like you just gotta know where your truth is, where not just your truth, but where the truth is, and just appreciate that for what it is, because that's what it's all about.
Look, and I will really end on this. I think the most I'm trying to temper the salt. Just because the truth may be concealed very well, or concealed through a lot of storytelling elements, because there are so many red herrings inside of Final Fantasy. The soldier persona, what's really going on with Genova, is Sephiroth really alive, the stuff about Zack and the connect. I mean, if we sift through, there's a lot of red herrings. There's a lot of unreliable narrators in these stories. You do have to, I think the problem with, in part, is that American media, to some degree, and I actually don't speak for American media, but when I was growing up in the 90s, like, you had these teen dramas where it was just all out there. People having sex with each other all over the place. People making these big declarations of, oh, I'm in love with, oh, I can't ever live without, and oh, I have a crush on them. They vocalized so much, and the actions were so explicit, not necessarily sexually, but you know what I mean? Yeah. The subtlety of Final Fantasy VII, the subtlety of the storytelling, gives the illusion of it being open-ended, or the illusion of choice. But just because and there are things I've just been corrected on, something, a couple things this week of misconceptions I had. Now, not related to CloTi, but just in general. But there's so much to the story. Mm-hmm. You have to you do have to deep dive to some degree. You do have to do the homework to some degree. But at the same time, I think it's a shame that the subtlety of the storytelling, because Cloud and Tifa, we don't see Cloud's penis go into Tifa's vagina on camera, then people can pretend that what's not happening. You know what I mean? Like, people can pretend what's happening is not happening.
Well, I mean, like, except if you're in the Italian Senate, so.
Oh, of course, anyway. Absolutely. The Italian Senate told it all. But just because I or you, or if the entire world never figures out the truth, doesn't mean there isn't a truth.
Yeah.
Nojima, these developers, they had a purpose in mind, and just because the discourse can go back and forth all day on Twitter, but there is a truth. Just because it's not easily found, just because it's not right out in your face, out in open, it does not mean that what's happening isn't happening. Yeah. And it really doesn't take a lot. One of the first, when you think about cinematic storytelling, one of the first things that happens in the first 2 hours of the game, not that hour really, is you find out that the main character made this romantic, essentially undying promise to the other main character under the stars when they were kids. Mm-hmm. And now he's fulfilling that promise. That tells you, that already shows you who the romantic couple is going to be. Mm-hmm. It's right there. I mean, you just got to, and then we're gonna do more on this because I don't want to go into a rant. But there is a truth, and it really, even though there's a lot of complexity to the story, one thing that really isn't complex is the fact that Cloud is in love with Tifa Lockhart. It just isn't. It is. I get OG. If we just had OG in a vacuum, that first disc, maybe disc and a half. But even then, once the live stream scene happens, and once the Highwind scene happens, what's the question, really? Mm-hmm. You know? It's, yeah. But anyway, we've gone off into an entirely different topic. I'm going to go ahead and end it there because, trust me, we're going to have a panel of Clouders, and we're going to be going off on this stuff, so. Oh, yeah. I can't wait for that, but yeah, go ahead.
But yeah, just before we go, again, thank you for having me on your podcast here. It's great to be able to talk with you and to talk with the listeners about a great subject that we all love, and this just with so many different layers to just peel away and deep dive into. A lot of fun doing this. It's so thank you so much for that. For those of you listening right now, watching either live or on demand, you can follow me on my social media at Lex Tan Media. Look out for a little night to remember kind of thing. I have a little demo up on my Twitter and my Facebook right now about with a little bit of a dramatic read demo for the Highwind scene, and hopefully we'll get the completed. Version of it out by this weekend. It's me voicing Cloud and Tana Greek Nose voicing Tifa Lockhart.
Yes. That's why I didn't really want to get too dramatic about the reading, because it occurred to me like, oh, they're doing this. So, yeah, that's going to be great. And with your permission, I certainly would be happy to show it on my stream sometime. So, sure. Like I said, we're going to be doing more of these fireside chats. And yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. And yes, Tana Greek Nose, WJCM 28, Rolling on the Floor Guy, Ultra High Winds. That's my dude right there. Chris Anth, which of course I don't know if you want me to put it all out there, but one of my moots on Twitter. I just love all of y'all. Joey, I'm really happy that all of y'all got to see this, and of course I will be putting it up on, I'll edit it some, because we had some things at the beginning, but I will have this up on YouTube sometime during the weekend. I just really appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope y'all have a great night. This is Stygian Stilettos Gamer, and I am # out of here, honey.